If you're a Jew living outside of Israel and God calls you to make Aliyah or immigrate to Israel and you make it here, once you're here, everything is great now, right? There's no problems. You've made it to the land. You're settling. No, there's a lot of really difficult things, and we're going to talk about what are some of those huge challenges that new Jewish immigrants face here in the land of Israel. Hi, my name is Cody Archer, and I want to welcome you to this week's Revive Live. I'm so glad that you're joining us, and as always, I'd love to hear from you. Tell us where you're watching from. We see your comments, those of you from Singapore and the Philippines and America and Canada and England and literally all over the world. Almost every week we see over 40 nations joining us. So we love you guys. Thank you for partnering with us. And I also want to just let you know that we have so much more content that is not just here on Facebook, but we're also using Instagram, YouTube. We have audio messages on iTunes and SoundCloud. So there's many different places and forms of content that you can receive and be strengthened and encouraged through. So check those things out. Put in the search Revive Israel and you'll find lots of great content. Well, today I have a friend of mine from here in the land of Israel who's doing amazing things in the northern part of Israel, in the area of the Sea of Galilee. And you're going to love our conversation today. So I want to encourage you, before we even begin, go ahead and like and share this broadcast. It's going to bless you, stir your heart. And I think God's actually going to be speaking to you today about how you can get involved into on-the-ground practical things happening among new Jewish immigrants in this land. And this is really a part of prophecy. Well, Chaim Malespin, I have you with me today. It's so awesome to have you.
It's an honor, a big honor, actually. I love what you guys do here, what God is doing here, actually, in reviving the land and people of Israel, which has to do with Aliyah.
It does, and we're going to talk about that today. Well, and you're a father of two, and I'm sure there'll be many more little Malespins that will come along the way.
Yes, yes.
And you're married to a Canadian, which makes that even more amazing.
Right,
I'm a Canadian.
Yes.
Your wife is from a city not far from where I grew up, and so that's cool and exciting.
Yes.
But you are leading a really active ministry here in the land of Israel that has a lot of things going on. And you know, one of the things when I think about you, I think about Ben-Gurion. I think about some of these founding fathers of Israel who weren't afraid to get their hands dirty.
That's right.
That's you.
Yeah, pioneer.
You're
Pioneer.
using media.
Yeah.
You're connecting with people. You're connecting with local authorities. But you're also getting your hands dirty. You're building things here on the ground. And so we're going to talk about some of those things today. But before we do that, I want to hear some of your story. You yourself are or were a new immigrant.
Yes.
You've been here now over a decade.
Well, about 20 years.
Almost 20 years. Wow. But tell us some of your story, your immigration story,
Yes.
where you're from, and what that experience was like for you.
Yes, well, you know, for Christians around the world, they might know John 3:16, you know, but do they know Isaiah chapter 49 verse 22 that says the nations, God will raise up his banner and an oath to the nations, and those nations will carry the Jewish people in their arms and on their shoulders, where? To the land of promise. That's what God has for these nations to do. There's a role for nations. So I'm originally born in Corvallis, Oregon, right? Our family was the wandering Jews, Jewish family. We lived around a lot of different places, building houses from wood. My parents were hippies originally, you know, and they found the Messiah. But what happened is my older brother was born in Blue Island, Illinois. I was born in Corvallis, Oregon. My other brother, Toronto, Canada. Other sister, Vancouver, BC.
Yes.
You know, and then of course Philadelphia, and others. We're 6 kids, and other brother, Alliance, Ohio. And we're reading these things called the Aliyah scriptures. I don't know if you know this word. Aliyah means the ascension. You could go on an escalator to make Aliyah, but it really means the return to the promised land when it's used here in Israel. And so we were reading these, and do you know there are 700 mentions of this return, this great prophetic ingathering? So some people say, I never heard of that in a Sunday sermon. That's not God's fault. You know, God said it. If God says something once, it's important, right? If he says something 700 times. So we're reading this, and we're saying, goodness, I will gather you from all the countries where I've scattered you, the Jewish people. Oh, wow. And it's considered captivity, you know, when they're out in the land, because he wants there to be this land to be filled with worship, to be filled with people, to be restored, the waste places rebuilt.
Yes.
Well, he wants to see the trees planted and the you know, really the people to have this return and then new heart, essentially, is what Ezekiel 36 speaks about. So we're reading this in America, and I remember asking my dad, this is the short version, you know, asking my dad, hey, are we supposed to actually go to Israel? And how do you go to Narnia? You know, it's like this this, and he's like, it's not Narnia. It's a real place.
Are we going to ride on camels?
Yeah,
And
yeah. I was like, but yeah, I kind of didn't know it's I mean, okay. So there it is, this little place size of New Jersey in the map, and you're looking on the globe, and you're like, why would we move to the Middle East? Okay, God asked us to. We need a sign. So here's the fun part of my story.
Yeah.
We go to our community center, and we walk in there, and this guy shows up, long white hair, long white beard. He says, my name is Zebulun. We're like, and I'm not from around here. We're like, it doesn't seem like you're from around here. What's your, and he said, actually, God asked me to come. I brought a sign for this family. The father's name is Reuven. How does he know about us? I don't even know. And I brought a sign. So my dad says, okay, my name's Reuven. We're a family of 8, and we are praying about this Aliyah journey. So what's the sign? And so he said, just hold out your hands. I don't got much time. I got to go. So my dad holds out his hands just like this, and he places a little satchel of gold coins in my dad's hands. Yeah, very strange. Wow. My dad says, Lord, yes. He said, I knew this day would come, family. We've been prepared for this.
Wow.
We're going 8 one-way tickets to Israel.
Wow.
We did that. Everyone was crying. They cooked. They made us a cake and drove to the airport. It was sad. It's very hard to be uprooted. I mean, but I quickly came to realize anyone can get on a plane. Any tourist can get on a plane. What's hard is what you were saying, the absorption.
Yes.
Wait, I have to learn a language? How do I sign an apartment? I don't speak that. Oh my, I have to go to the army? How do I get married? Have to go to the rabbi? Where do I get a job? I had a better paying job in America. Now I have to leave all that in my family. And we came quickly to find out that it's the Jeremiah 32:41 that needs to happen, which is, I will plant them in the land with all my heart and all of my soul. I will plant them in the land. Yeah, it's not digging a ditch and throwing a Jewish person in. No, that means houses. That means vineyards. That means learning the language. That means being restored to their land as regathering the tribes. It's a real thing. This isn't a storybook principle. So we came to the airport. You saw people kissing the ground. Like, that's not even sanitary. You know, these guys, it's like those turtles.
Wow.
The only way I can explain it is these turtles were hatched on this beach. They swam the 7 seas. These sea turtles. Suddenly, boom, instinct kicks in, and they need to come back to that beach. And God's put in the Jewish people a call to the land. So we made our Aliyah. And I quickly came to realize it was quite a journey. Connected with many friends, and God set us up. Did, of course, the Army. Master Sergeant now in the elite. I don't know if you've ever heard of Yalom, which is a combat engineers elite unit for special missions in other countries, and university government diplomacy strategy, history of the Middle East, counterterrorism. Learned all that, and I was a carpenter. And here's where the story gets kind of interesting about what I'm doing today with what's called the Aliyah Return Center. So I said, I want to rebuild the waste places, as it says in Amos chapter 9. I want to see those vineyards planted. I want to be part of the restoration that God has, but I don't know if just being a carpenter, if I'm fully fulfilling it. So my father-in-law calls me up, and he says, he's actually a Canadian, my father-in-law, right? My wife's Canadian, as you said. So he calls up and he says, hey, do you know for about 3 decades, I've been helping, ever since I saw that sign. I'm like, you saw a sign too? What sign? Wait a minute. What sign did you see in Canada? What is it? You made Aliyah? You're not a Jewish person. How did you? And he says, hey, what it was is I was driving down the road. I got hit by what's called the Holy Spirit. And he says, my, oh my, I don't know what this is all about. And I see a license plate, little sign that says ROM 1111, Canada, ROM, Romans. Romans 11, verse 11, 1111.
Wow.
Do you know what it says? It says, this is the reason salvation came to the Canadians, the Americans, the Chinese, the Singaporeans. This is the reason why salvation came to them, to cause the Jewish people to be jealous or zealous, depending which translation. And then he thought, how do I do that? Do I have to out-pray them? Do I need to out-spiritual them? Turns out, it's quite simple. We have a role. The nations have a role how to provoke us to jealousy. Quite easy. It's them fulfilling their role, which is Isaiah 49:22. Carry them home in their arms. You go to any rabbi and you say, hey, I just want to do what God's asked me to do. Can I do that? Is that okay? I want to help with the return. As God, you want to do what God's asked you to do, right? You want me to do what God's asked me to do. Unless you don't want me to do that. And they're like, no, do it. Do it. And they're so touched, whether it's Orthodox Jews returning, whether it's hippie Jew, atheist Jew, a Jew who believes in Yeshua, any of them are able to be blessed in this center. So my father-in-law, we talked and we said, hey, what if, he said, Chaim, what if, age 30, you'd leave your carpentry, you'd go to the Galilee, because I'm from this area, these beautiful Judean hills.
Yes.
And what if you would go to the Galilee and begin to minister? I thought, a guy I know by name of Yeshua did the very same thing, and it chose a team.
Yeah.
And I didn't know if it would work. I thought this would be the greatest adventure of my life, and it has been, and it is, because God could have said, you know what? Dumb move, Chaim. Off you went to chase this dream of restoring Israel, and what do you mean you taking on a $10 million project? Yeah, with these 20-some buildings on this 14-some acres, and renovating all these buildings and repurposing them, and God could have said, that was you moved too quickly. But the thing is, I didn't. I was afraid to, and someone came 3 times and said to me, Chaim, your vision's too small. And you know what? Second time, your vision's too small. Third time, all the way from England, this person came. I came here just to tell you, your vision's too small. And who do you think you are to hold back what God wants to do? It's not about you. It's not about me. It's about what God wants to do in the earth at this time.
Wow.
So I think I quickly came to realize it's even bigger than Israel. It's a team-building exercise. This Aliyah, this not just return to the land, but then absorption, return and restoration, Aliyah and absorption.
Yes.
So it's return and restoration, Aliyah and absorption. And so this whole thing is a team-building exercise. It's not about being philosophically, as you know, I understand God wants the Jews to return. It's about action.
Yes.
I understand. No, that's philosophical. It's time to be Hebraic together in the olive tree, which is Jew and Gentile. The cultivated, the grafted in, they're all in that root, which is Messiah. So the way that we can bear fruits of righteousness, is by doing a team-building exercise, I believe.
Wow. So let's unpack that a little bit. You guys are actually not talking, you're actually doing, and a lot of really great things. And there's people coming from the nations. But what are you guys doing practically on the ground?
Yes. So it started out, we said, we're going to buy this hotel, and it's going to be probably the worst business plan in the world, a free hotel. Like we're just saying, any Jewish person can stay here who's made their Aliyah, they got their stamp, they're welcome in there, no matter what kind they are. And I remember thinking, how long is this thing going to stay open? It is not going to probably work that well. I didn't have much faith. But suddenly I see when people would start to come, and even the government first, they were very wary. They said, who are these people? What are they doing in that center? What exactly is the Aliyah Return Center? Are they trying to impose their maybe beliefs on these people, or trying to use, and we said, hey, we have a simple thing called unconditional love. Many people they've heard of this, but not ready to say, hey, we don't have any pressure, anything. They don't have to sit down and listen to the 5 spiritual laws. They don't have to listen to anything. We say, we're here to bless you because Yeshua loves you, and that's it. And Christians from around the world are compelled by the prophetic word. And so I know some Jewish people say, they don't read the Old Testament. They're only allowed to read the New Testament. I was like, no, they're actually allowed to read it. It's actually inside their Bible.
Yes.
And some of them are understanding that that's coming to pass in their time. Imagine this. We are in the most exciting times since the resurrection of Yeshua. Think about this. Prophets that prophesied these things, imagine they would have to wait thousands of years until today, restoration time. That's what time we're in, is restoration time, to see these words bear fruit and come, like that thing when Jeremiah put the jar and he said again, remember that? And he threw it in the jar, said again they will plant vineyards, again they will build houses, again old men will walk on the streets of Jerusalem, and children were placed. They buried that in the jar. Off they were taken to Babylon. We're now in a time where we're not returning from one country, Babylon, but from all the countries, Russia and so on. So what do we do there, you were asking? In short, it started out with one building, one hotel, free hotel. It didn't close down. It got so packed out, with whether it was people who were helping or whether it was those from the nations who are there to meet, greet, play a part, and really serve. Now this is a tough verse in Isaiah 14. Isaiah 14 verse 1 and 2. I love it. It says, foreigners, people not from Israel, will unite with the house of Jacob, and they will essentially serve the restoration of Israel. They're going to join and serve. And I remember growing up in Israel, there'd be different groups that come. They'd say, hey, is there something I can do? Can I clean a window? And we said, we don't really have anything for you to do. We're here. You can become friends, and that's great. But I felt challenged. we need to have something for them to do practically. If I see another like on Facebook, that's fine, but it doesn't, for me, I call it slacktivism. That's fine. I want people to like, but that's not enough, I'm saying.
Yeah.
That's slacktivism. We need activism because I love Israel, their little heart. I love Israel. What does that mean? For a Jewish person, they need to ask, what does that mean practically?
Yes.
Does it mean you have a prayer group in your house? Great. Or in your congregation? Does it mean you come and volunteer anywhere? It doesn't have to be just with us.
Yeah.
Or does it mean that you donate? Or it's got to have some action behind it, or what does it really mean? It's like saying to your kid, I love you, but I don't ever play softball with you. That's more of an American sport. But either way, what I was trying to say is, so we, from that one building, it got so packed out with people, we said, we got to find a new pioneering initiative. We happened on in the Galilee, right? I'm from Chaim the Galilean. So, Sea of Galilee. That's I love these mountains though, but I'm over in the Galilee. And Yeshua loved the Galilee too.
Yeah, he did.
When I get out of that grave, meet me in the Galilee. I love quoting that, but I love the unity we're seeing also between Galilee, like it's how it says, "Behold how good and how pleasant it is for brethren to dwell together in unity." It's like the dew on Mount Hermon, Galilee, and the dew on the mountains of Zion, which is Jerusalem. So as we are working together, we're seeing this blessing. But back to what I was saying, is that we look to pioneer a new place, and right there along the Jordan River, right near the Sea of Galilee, is this big property, about 14 acres. And we went to these old grizzly pioneers, and we said, hey, what's going on with that old boarding school? It's like a home for weeds, thorns, pigeon poop, and that's about it. Is there anything going on with that? And they said, no, it's used to be a school, but it's completely in disrepair, old boarding school. What if we would start stewarding that, for 50 years, 50 years. We have to wait to the end of the Jubilee sort of period and then another. So 15 years, then one. And they said, we don't want you to just, kind of squat on the land or whatever, to just be in part of it. We want you to, if you're going to take this, you have to take on the commitment to renovate the entire place. And that's that $10 million commitment. And we brought in a contractor and another contractor. They all said it's around $10 million US.
Yes.
And I remember thinking, my oh my, why should I hold back what God wants to do? Let's see if he'll move. And you know what? The most amazing thing happened. Once we said yes, even, and we started to renovate, people came from all kinds of places to work. Someone says, I don't have any money to donate, but I'm a roofer. I don't have any money to donate, but I'm an electrician. I can input data. I can do media. I can all this stuff. So we started to see a team grow where a few Shabbats ago we had 78 people in our Shabbat dinners over there in the dining hall. And people cooking. We had no cars. Suddenly someone gave us a van, then another van, then another van. We got these 3 7-seater vans and we need more. But I'm just seeing that God started to move so much that the government started to notice. And they're sending us people and saying, hey, in fact, when we first expanded to this property, we started out with an agricultural school. And we said, because it's different than the usual, here's a handout, here's some food, here's some clothes. Different. We're doing different from that. That's that too, we do have clothes and food. But we say, here is a hand up, which is the agricultural school. Here you can learn. Skills. You can learn Israel is a water superpower. You can learn about the agrotech, hydroponics, aeroponics, and you can discover micro-irrigation and have a job. That's the first thing. That was on the front page of the Jerusalem Post, causing people to say, and the government to say, hey, maybe even though there are Jewish and non-Jewish people who believe in Yeshua, who are there helping out, that's a little, not necessarily our cup of tea, but we see there's a new move. Where people are saying, hey, let's work with them. So they actually approached us. Would you like to work together on a project? I said, well, you guys putting in some money then? And, because it's just been donations and volunteer. Well, we don't have budget for that, However, if you're willing, we want to really give you the approval. You're no longer just this Aliyah Return Center unknown ministry. You now have the backing and the approval, almost the kosher stamp of the government.
Wow, that's amazing.
So we then had the Minister of Defense fly in on his helicopter, Avigdor Lieberman. He's no longer the Minister of Defense, but he flew in after we dedicated building number 2, which was a pre-army training academy for both Arabic and Hebrew speakers. And training for the army. He said, I not believe this. You say a Christian come, they train my boys and girls for army, even Arabic speaker, even Hebrew speaker. And so I not understand this. I thought Christian take selfie picture by Muslim mosque with the gold, then go back home. And I said, You might be correct for the 2.4 billion Christians, but there are a few. Let's call it a 1%. I don't know. There's a few that are here to help.
Yes,
here
locked
to
into God's promises for this nation.
Yeah, to take hold of it. And
so good. Well, Chaim, I'm sorry to cut you off. We're almost out of time.
Okay.
But I just want to just speak to our friends who are watching us right now. I sense that, like me, your heart has been stirred as you're hearing Chaim's story. I just see him as such as a modern day pioneer. I'm thinking about these guys, founding this nation over 100 years ago, working hard, believing God. Some of them not even believing God, but there's just something in them that says we need to restore this nation. And you're hearing Chaim's story today, and you're saying, I'm with you, and I'm not just going to give a like to this. I actually want to get involved, and there is so much more that needs to be done. There's finances that they need. They need you to come here physically, spend some time in the Galilee, help restore buildings. There's so many things that can be done. There's a lot more work ahead of them, and I want to just turn to you and ask you, would you prayerfully consider coming here? Spend a season of your life investing into the Galilee. I believe that this is so prophetic for the time that we're living in. This restoration, this restoring these broken places. I'm thinking about Isaiah 60. There's so many scriptures that speak about this. And I believe that God is speaking to some of you right now to get involved with some of this. So Chaim, if that's someone out there that wants to get involved, how can they find you guys? Where can they get more information?
Yes, AliyahReturnCenter.com. Aliyah, ALIYAH, ReturnCenter.com. Like that, essentially.
Yes.
And that's the logo, pomegranate.
Right here.
So AliyahReturnCenter.com. And all they need to do is serve in Israel. And I want to just say, the Shekinah accompanies Aliyah. It's true. It was true with the pillar of cloud, with the tabernacle, where the priests couldn't even come in to serve when they built that. That was on an Aliyah journey to the promised land. Same thing when they made Aliyah, ascension to the Temple Mount, just over that away. The priests couldn't even serve in that thing because the Shekinah. I believe the Shekinah still accompanies this great return.
So good.
And we can be part of that.
Yeah. So now I know you guys are also hosting a couple specific schools coming up. Tell me about those.
Yes, that it's really amazing because it's not just bless Israel. Really, it's equip the nations to bless Israel, disciple the nations, and it's called the Ambassador Academy. So glad, and it's half of it's right here with you in this very place. The discipleship journey in Israel is part of the Ambassador Academy. Discipleship Journey in Israel, or we call it DJI for short. So what it is, it's 2 months in the land. It's about $4,000, but 2 months in the land, and they come 1 month in Jerusalem hills, and then 1 month in the Galilee, and it's really a learn and serve. So they're meeting all kinds of leaders of the land, even rabbis, even like regular generals, pioneers, kibbutz people. I really like to say, in short, I say it's since Joshua till today, what is the IDF? Since Joshua, since Ezra and Nehemiah, till today, what is the government? To be ambassadors, it says you will be my witnesses in Jerusalem, Judea, Samaria, and the ends of the earth. It's not just the ends of the earth. You're missing 75%. Jerusalem, Judea, Samaria, and the ends of the earth. So we want to equip them as witnesses or ambassadors to be able to be those firebrands and bring the revival from the root to the nation, not a revival without a root, revival with a root.
So good.
And so we show them that since Peter's house till today. Where are the believers? They need to know that this is, you don't get this on a tour.
Really good. Well, Chaim, I'm going to cut you off here. Thank you so much. It's awesome to have you back again.
This is awesome.
And friends, I want to encourage you to like and share this broadcast. Go check out the Aliyah Return Center. It's a great opportunity to get involved in a practical way here in restoring the land of Israel and helping bring the good news to the Jewish people, which is the most important thing. We love you guys. I bless you, and I look forward to seeing you next week on Revive Live.